This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our first session for this year for the Salesforce Marketers Ask Me Anything APAC session. So this session is jointly hosted by marketing champions and marketer groups across India and Malaysia. So New Delhi, Ajmer, and Cyberjaya. And today, from the panel side, as always, we have wonderful panel of marketing champions joining in. Pankaj, Anurag, Isha, myself, and we have a guest speaker, Shatul. She's joining in from Horizontal. And then our agenda for today, we have pretty good one. So we have a few questions that we got submitted over the last week that we post. We had given the link in our event page. So we have some questions that we'll try to address. And then we'll go through a couple of sessions today on Dataroma. Shatul will be actually walking us through calculated measurements, and then some of the new release features in Pardot. So Anurag has graciously agreed to walk us through some of those. We'll open it out for a little bit of Q&A, and then we have a new design challenge initiative that we are beginning this year. So we will stay tuned. We will give you some of the details of what this competition is about and how you can participate. Okay, and last but not the least, definitely our Kahoot quiz as usual. So it will be related to the two topics that will be discussed. So please make sure you pay attention to that. Okay. So with that, we will move to a couple of, a few of the questions that we received. Meanwhile, guys, what if anything that you need to help with, just put that in the chat window. Our panel will be online. They will be actually checking and helping with that as well. Okay. So for SFMC, we actually received 3 questions. So one was regarding email bounce management. So let me go ahead and share.
And in the meantime, Shibu is sharing. Hi everyone, Pankaj this side. Just a small request. If you can post about this proceedings of this session by taking screen grabs on LinkedIn, Twitter, and other platforms, it helps the community. It helps create awareness in the community. So all in for taking screen grabs and posting it out, tagging the group and the people around over here. That will help and mean a lot to us. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Pankaj. So with regards to bounce management, I think the question was how does email bounce, how is it processed, and will it be resent? So there is actually a very good detailed article about bounce management that Salesforce itself has given. So I would highly recommend that you guys go through it. There are 2 types. At least 2 types of bounces you need to know is soft bounce and hard bounce. There are other types as well, but these are the 2 primary types that you will come across. And they've mentioned as well, they've given the details of what is a hard bounce versus a soft bounce. But the good flow that you can see here at the bottom will actually help you to see okay, if a bounce happens, it'll actually check if was it a hard bounce or a soft bounce, and when does it become undeliverable. Okay. So when technically a bounce status is there, there are certain rules that is checked to see can it be resent in the next campaign. For the current campaign, it will not be sent, meaning the current email sent, it will not be sent, but the next time it will be again considered unless it is marked to undeliverable. Okay. So and when does it change from bounce to undeliverable? Those rules are actually mentioned here, in this and the documentation about. But then I would highly recommend that you guys go through that, because it takes some time to understand the rules, and then what is hard bounce and what categorizes as soft bounce, etc. Okay. The second
Shibu,
question.
sorry. Request you to just zoom in a bit when you are using the browser. Just zoom in a bit, please.
Okay, I haven't tried that.
100%. So there's a 3 dots on the top browser. 3 dots on the right hand side top.
Zoom. This one. Okay, got it.
100%. So make it Thank you. Make 125. Yeah, that would be better.
Okay, better now.
Yeah, much better.
Okay, cool. Okay, so coming back to the PowerPoint, the second one that we had was multi-language template. Okay, so this one we usually there are I think there is one or two, at least 1 or 2 ways that we can do it. So dynamic content is one way that you can content block is one way that you can actually look at it. The other one is using AMP script as well. If you store the data in your data extension with the translations, programmatically you can bring that up by looking up like the contacts, the locale, or the country, so there are different ways that you can look at it. But I've seen people have used dynamic content blocks for that. But there is an article that I saw as well, which I've mentioned over here, where they've used AMP-script. So if you want to look at that option, and you can actually Google, there's multiple, you will see in Stack Exchange as well, there are multiple solutions that people have actually used in the past. So this is one of those. This is actually using the data extension and AMP-script as well. So if you want to refer to that, you can definitely use this as well. Okay. The third question that we had was dynamic versus enhanced dynamic content. Good question. So dynamic content block basically is you can configure it through the UI. If you want to show content based on certain rules, so as part of the contact, if it satisfies certain conditions, you want to show a particular content, or if it's a different value, then you want to show some other content, right? So one simple one would be probably based on if it's a gender, if you're looking at the gender, or if you're looking at the country, anything like that. So you can use any of those to say, okay, I want to show different type of content depending upon the person who we are actually targeting, right? Now enhanced dynamic content is one step further. Think of it if you want to do it in bulk, you can actually use the file based rules for that. So it's the same thing that you actually import all that using a file template. Okay, you'll be able to import that dynamic content using the file. So they've given all the documentation here. There is also a video that Salesforce has provided. It was actually released in April 2018. So it's actually a short 1.5 minute video. And they've actually mentioned it very nicely, these, how it actually works out. So I would recommend watching this one as well. You can just search for Content Builder Enhanced Dynamic Content on YouTube. You will see it from Salesforce as well. Very nicely they've explained. And this is also in this particular, the example, I think they have addressed, the specific example that the presenter has shown is also related to translations, meaning multi-language thing. So you can use that, this one for that as well, the previous use case that we mentioned. Okay, moving to Pardot. Anurag, do you want to help take this one? If there is multiple BUs and if there's restriction to CRM, I think that's what I understood from the question. Is that your understanding as well? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes. So, if someone is asking how to provide access to Pardot users for multiple BUs with restriction to CRM. Okay. So, we have a license called as identity license, which is recently being introduced by Salesforce. We got 100 license, for every org. Now the identity license won't work for the BU. Okay, why we are giving the identity license to a user is, if somebody don't have access of Salesforce and they want to give any specific business unit access, then we can do that. But with the identity license, it's not possible. So the only thing is that if somebody want to give access with the multiple BUs, is they need to use the Salesforce license, the actual Salesforce license. So this is something need to take care.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Anurag. The next one that we had was automation rule versus engagement studio. Is there any specific scenarios when you would use one over the other?
Yes. So the automation rule, imagine it's the same like a workflow rule, what we are creating in our Salesforce. Automation rule is the retrospective rule, where you are creating a rule and then you need to trigger some action. So imagine, right? You have a rule. Your business, reach out to you that they want to sync a specific lead or specific prospect into a lead in Salesforce. So what you can do is that you are creating a rule which is matching to your prospect, or maybe if a prospect score reach out to, greater than 30, then you need to put some action. It's the same, imagine it's the same like a workflow rule, what we are creating in the Salesforce. Then it's a comprise of the rule and the completion action. Now the engagement studio is basically a journey which we are creating in the Pardot. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Carry on.
Yeah. So engagement studio is basically a journey which we are creating in Salesforce. Sorry, not in Salesforce, in Pardot. And then we are passing out, a fresh outcome of fresh prospects back to the Salesforce. So Engagement Studio is a journey which we are creating. It's a step-by-step journey. It's a drip program. You can see it's an enhancement of a drip program. Previously, we have a drip program in the Pardot, and it's revamped into the Engagement Studio. So this is the difference between the automation and the Engagement Studio.
Awesome. Thanks, Anurag. And the last one that we had on Pardot was the difference between prospect activity, audit, and the lifecycle tab. Any idea on those?
Can I share my screen? Okay. So basically, these three differences are. Let me know if Shibu just confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so these three differences are primarily, a prospect activity is basically, the activity which is being performed by the prospect. So this is my prospect name is Anurag, and you can see this is my prospect activity. So I filled out a form, I visited to my pages, my web page, my landing page, any of the web, if I'm coming from any of the things, this is called the prospect activities. So the same, this is also a prospect activity. When you click on this prospect activity, you will be seeing the activity which is being performed by the prospect. He filled out a form, we got a success over here. What is the entry point? What is the exit point? When you click on this view page, you're able to see that, I came from, like what is my entry point where I reach out to a contact us form. So it's a step-by-step of activity, step-by-step of journey, you can say, of a prospect. And accordingly with the activities, we are giving them a scores. So you can see the scores over here. This prospect Anurag has filled out a form and we gave a score of 50. If he visited a page, we give them a score of 2. So it's overall give you an idea about a prospect, journey, you can say. Now coming back to our audits. Audit is basically something, if you want to see a behavior of a prospect, like what is the old value, what is the new value, right? So when this prospect, it's came into my Pardot database, you can see the first name is for old value was blank because there was no value. And when he filled out a form, its name is Anurag, right? So all the details you can see is being captured over here. Auditing is very important whenever we are, doing a fresh check of a prospect, because without auditing we cannot make a prospect a qualified lead, or you can say qualified prospect back and sync to the Salesforce CRM. So all these informations you will be seeing in the auditing tab. The life cycle tab is basically the overall journey of a prospect. So the day when a prospect is entered in, or you can say captured in your Pardot, what is his life cycle? So when you can see this prospect is being, it's popped on my 23rd of January, and the score is +1, right? Now on Monday, there is no activity over here, but on the same, on 26th of January, there is another activity of a prospect, the same prospect, and we gave them a score of +9. The score is be changed from 1 to +9. The total score is 10. So this is the life cycle stage of a prospect. Now, this life cycle of a prospect is comprised of various stages. So if you can see over here, we have a prospect, we have the assigned prospect, name is MQL. MQL stands for the marketing qualified lead. And then with the SQL, sales qualified lead, if the prospect, if the deal is being successfully, then we convert a lead into the opportunity, we change the status, to closed one. Then it should be marked as opportunity 1 and the opportunity lost. So this is the overall life cycle journey of a prospect. You can see, on 28th of January, he filled out a form, and we, and see, you can see a 1 form submission +50. So this is the overall journey of a prospect, which comprises of the life cycle. I hope this is clear. If someone has a question.
Awesome. Yep, that was great. Thank you, Anurag.
Yeah.
I can go back and share. Okay, I hope you can see the PowerPoint now. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, thank you very much, Anurag, for the Pardot ones. And the last one that we had was from the career guidance part, was on Marketing Cloud Developer. I'm assuming the question was, how do I get the certification or that career path? So I can probably try to address the certification path at least. So if you look at the exam guide, there is a set of modules that you need to look at. And again, as usual, most of the certification guides, exam guides are very limited in telling you what exactly you need to go and learn in detail. So on a high level, these are the modules. But I would recommend reading through some of the blogs that folks have written. Like, if you Google, you will see that. Okay, for instance, Susanna has written like a blog on preparing for the certification. Shantanu recently took, and he has given tips as well. Jordan's was something that I had referred to. Both Susanna's and Jordan's was I had referred to when I started learning long time back. And I saw a couple of other ones. Susan has a very good one, which actually has some mind map kind of diagrams as well, which is pretty nice. Like, if you, for instance, if you look at that, data management part, what all to learn, you can actually go into some of these areas like this and then zoom in to see like, okay, what area do I need to learn for each of these? So it's actually pretty useful. Like, so each person who's actually written the blog, they have something to give. Like, so I would recommend, like, go through some of these blogs to read through their tips, and then combine all that knowledge together as you prepare for the exam. There was another one from Perspective as well, so there was some details about, again, this person has written as well, so you can check that. The boot camp was done recently on Trailblazing together. So last year we had the boot camp, so definitely check those out. There are videos again on a high level, teaching you about each of these modules. So you can, this would be probably the first step that you want to take at if you're preparing, and then go through some of the blogs to learn each of those areas, any documentation that you need to refer to, etc. Okay. For APIs, I actually have a set of videos as well. If you want to do hands-on and try to learn APIs, it will definitely help. So you can look at those, because APIs actually form 22% of the actual the exam. So you need to know APIs in and out, and probably know some of the endpoints properly as well, like some of the common endpoints you need to know, because when I wrote those exams long time back, it was a little tough for me to remember unless I had the hands-on, so it was not easy. But if you have worked, tried a little bit of hands-on, it actually helps a lot. And then AmpScript, definitely know all the functions, what are the major functions available, so commonly used ones and how they work. SSJS also, okay, when do you use SSJS and when do you use AmpScript variables in SSJS and vice versa. So some of those cross references is very useful for you to learn. GTL, I don't assume there will be too many questions, maybe one or two, to reference what is GTL is used about. So you can Google that. I think there are one or two references on GTL. But then data modeling, data management, some of the core areas. So about how do you manage contacts, display contact deletion process, data management, about okay, and these actually overlap with some of the other exams, like email specialist and admin and consultant also have some of these areas, including security as well. So I've seen some of that. So it actually helps if you're preparing, or if you've passed that in the past, you've taken that in the past. So yeah, these are the main areas that you would actually look for when you're actually preparing for the Marketing Cloud Developer exam. Okay. Pankaj, any other thoughts to add?
Absolutely. So I'm presuming this is from a certification standpoint. Let me take a different perspective over here and trying to extrapolate this question in terms of career guidance of whether there's a lot of times I get a question, can I get into Marketing Cloud development? How do I get into that? So those kind of questions are there, and let me try with the help of this question address those if you guys have these questions like that. So absolutely yes, anybody can start learning into Marketing Cloud, in this case specifically development, and development is a clear cut line or a job profile going with this. And as Shibu mentioned, one of the first things that you should do, at least strive for is the certification. But of course, these three different programmatic language that we are talking about, AmpScript, second one being your SSJS, and third is GTL. These are the bedrock of learning in Marketing Cloud develop. And how you can learn these languages, of course, first place to go is Trailhead to start with basics, and then all the blogs and links that Shibu has mentioned are really good one. And I would recommend especially the bootcamp ones, because they start from basics and then they take you to a certain level, and then nothing beats hands-on practice. So I would summarize by saying that yes, people can learn Marketing Cloud development, though you would require Marketing Cloud org access at your end, because in order to practice and actually see the output for that. But certainly it is something that can be learned and mastered at within a duration of time. Yes, Shibu.
Awesome. Thanks, Pankaj. So in relation to skills, like now, if you're looking at, okay, what skills I need to have background. If you have a programming background, great, you will be able to quickly ramp up. See, AMScript is pretty simple. It's like, more or less, if you have worked on Excel and Excel functions, it is very similar to that. So understanding that, having a little bit of analytical skills, you will be able to pick up AMScript very quickly. Okay. SSJs, on the other hand, little more advanced, like, you need to know JavaScript. The good thing is SSJS uses ECMA 3. I believe it's a very old version. They don't use the latest ECMA 6 or the latest JavaScript versions. It doesn't use that. So if you're a hardcore JavaScript techie, yeah, you're in for a surprise. So if you try to use some of those latest functions in like let and all that, if you try to do that in SSJS, it will not work. Okay. But then compared to AMScript, there's more flexibility, because it can process JSON and few other things that you cannot do directly in AMScript. There are definitely workarounds. So these two are like the most sought after languages that people usually look for when they look for a development, or a marketing cloud developer when they look for a developer. Okay. So from your perspective, if that's something that you're not very savvy in, or if you don't want, you can still look at specializing in marketing cloud in terms of journeys, automations and all that. You still need to know SQL, because automation, there is a bunch of times that you will end up doing segmentation with SQL queries and all that. So you need to know SQL in and out. That's definitely, and I think in a couple of the exams, they are especially in the developer one, there is specific sections on SQL. They will ask okay, I think technically itself, there are a few questions on SQL as well. So you need to be well versed in that. Yeah, that's pretty much what I had. And APIs. Yeah, APIs, it's because definitely this is where we actually look at integration. So the core end of things, there's two parts that you would usually look at. One is looking at the actual operations and campaigns and all that. And this is more on the IT side, where you do development, customization. So if you're a developer, then you are expected to know SQL programming and then customization. If you're looking at a little more advanced areas, you might even look at how to build or custom journey builder activities or marketing cloud apps, and bringing them in, integrating with an external system if you want to bring in, or triggering from CRM, those kind of things. So all these things is something that you would definitely be able to work with if you're into a marketing cloud development role. Okay, any other questions that we have so far? Don't see anything in chat right now.
No, I don't.
Okay, all right, then I think we will go ahead with the next agenda item, that is the calculated measurements in Dataroma by Shatul. So I'll pass the share to her. And then team, people on the call, if you have any questions, please go ahead. You can still continue to post on chat. We will try to answer in parallel as well. Okay, Shatul, over to you.
Yeah, Shibu. Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen. Okay, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, loud and clear.
So I'm Shatul Khandelwal, and I am a Dataroma and Marketing Cloud practitioner. And I'm currently working as an associate consultant at Horizontal. So our topic for today is calculated measurements. And before that, I'm going to give you a quick, brief introduction on Dataroma. I am not sure why the slide part is not coming up. Yeah, okay. All right. So Salesforce Dataroma, as we all know, is a cross-marketing intelligence platform that empowers marketers to connect the entire ecosystem of their marketing data, regardless of where it lives, what format it is in, or how much it changes. So mostly marketers need flexibility, speed, accuracy, and control to overcome the challenge of having a huge number of data sources that must be integrated. And this is why they lack a single source of data truth. The volume is so large, and this totally becomes a challenge for marketers. This is where all of this is achieved via Dataroma. So if I talk about a broader level, it is divided into 3 functionalities: connect and unify. Connect and unify is actually unifying and connecting all your marketing data and insights in one centralized platform across marketing cloud technologies and any other tools. Then, and it's of course without any code. Then comes the analyze and reporting. It reports across all channels and campaigns so that every stakeholder in the organization has the right information at the fingertips. And the last functionality, act and collaborate, to drive the ROI, to bring the organization together towards common goals using built-in activation and collaboration tools. Next, we moving on to our next slide is our topic for today, and that is calculated measurements. Okay, so what calculated measurements really are? Dataroma has its own data models defined. We have measurements and then we have dimensions. Now, what if we want to have our own field or our own measurement with some unique calculations? Here is when calculated measurements come into the picture. So you can either create a mathematical expression that generates the required calculation, or you can enter a full body of code with advanced conditioning and logic to produce your own calculation. Okay. So now the point arises that when is the point or when you should actually be using calculated measurements? One, when you need to produce a calculation that isn't already available. You have measurements, you have dimensions, you have fields. But what if you want to have your own unique calculation? You want to view that on your dashboard, in your pivot tables. So that is the time when calculated measurements are really helpful. Second, when you want to create calculations that combine measurements from different data sources in your workspace. Now, this is not possible with the real physical measurements that are already present. When you want to combine measurements from different data sources, you have to have a calculated measurement. And third, when you want to apply complex logic conditioning to your calculation. Again, this is again not possible with the physical fields or the measurements or the dimensions that are already present within your workspace or your data streams. Now, since we have answered the when, it's time to take a look at why should we use calculated measurements. First, it's easy to maintain. After even creating the calculated measurement, you can edit and adjust as you go along, and this will not even update or reprocess any existing data in your workspace. It's not going to harm. Second, it's applicable to all the data in the workspace. An entire workspace can be updated immediately without actually reprocessing any of your data streams. Third, it supports a variety of readily available functions and logical conditions. Fourth, it is risk-free. They cannot harm your mapped fields, the already mapped dimensions or fields. For example, you loaded some data and you create calculated measurements and you want to edit them. You can edit them freely. There's no risk with them. It's not going to harm your physically present fields in the database. So now I'm going to showcase you how to create a calculated measurement via a simple yet effective business use case. Since it all works on real-time business data, I'm quickly going to demonstrate how to create a calculated measurement and what all factors needs to be kept in mind while creating them. Let's say you want to view your ROAS. So by ROAS, I mean return on ad spend. So it's basically a marketing metric similar to ROI that measures the amount of revenue your business earns for each dollar it spends on advertising. This way you can analyze your campaign performance better. Now, instead of having to manually calculate the ROS for each campaign, you can directly create a calculated measurement to extract this information and directly get it viewed in your dashboards, in your pivot tables, collections, goals, etc. Okay, let's quickly move to the demo part. 1 second. I'm just gonna authenticate it.
In the meantime, Shatul's page is loading. Please keep asking questions as you are, guys. We are trying to respond. So keep this chat window active.
Yep. Okay. So this is how a typical Dataroma workspace looks like. We have tabs over here and a separate list for each tab here. So for creating a calculated measurement, we are on the connect and mix tab, and in the left we have calculated measurements. For creating one, we'll click on add new. Okay, now this whole page is divided into 3 sections: general, advanced, and expression. We'll move on to each one. First, we come to the general part. In the general part, there are different fields. First is the measurement name. We'll give it a name, that is ROAS. Okay. Next is the type. This basically specifies what type you want to give to your measurement. For example, for me, I want to calculate my ROAS, and that has to be in the numeric type. So I'll just keep it this way. Here you decide the decimal places. I'll just keep it 0. Here you can specify the color. You can just put on the percentages or the code if you have. And then you can put a description if you want. For example, I need to calculate my ad spend ROAS. Okay. Next, we move to the advanced section. And guys, it has some really important properties that we need to take care of. The first comes is the total aggregation function. So this function determines how the bottom total row is calculated in the display. So for example, you have calculated your ROAS, right? Now calculating ROAS would be done by putting a formula, but you want to see a total aggregation row at the bottom of your total ROAS. For that, you need to use the total aggregation function. So it could be either same as aggregation function. We are going to move in the aggregation part later when the expression window comes, or you can choose either of the lot. So for now, I'm going to keep it same as aggregation function. Then comes the granularity. Okay, the granularity setting in a calculated measurement, it dictates the dimension level at which the calculation is carried out. So the relationship between a calculation result and its granularity setting is perhaps best explained by first analyzing the outcome when no granularity is defined. For example, I want to view my ROAS at some dimension level that is not being visualized, but I still want to view it at that level. I want to see it to a more granular level. So then I'll put or mention a dimension here. Right now, I am I'm going to leave this blank since I'm not trying to get into it at a more advanced level. So I'm not trying to put any granularity here. Then it's treat nulls as 0. As the name suggests, it will treat all the null values as 0. The next checkbox is invisible measurement. So this property or this checkbox indicates that if you want to make your measurement not visible to other users, you can select this checkbox. So only after I select this checkbox, only admins will be able to view my measurement or my calculated measurement through my dashboards or pivot tables. Otherwise, no other users will be able to do that. So right now I'm not selecting this one. Okay. The third window is the expression window. This is the window where you actually write your expression. Now you can do it with either of the ways. The first one is at the right, you can see a display box where there are dimensions, functions, measurements. So you can either double click on the dimension or function or measurement that you want to insert, or you can simply type the formula and let Dataroma auto-complete it. For example, my calculation is for ROAS, and the formula for it, the right formula for it would be sales revenue divided by media cost. So you don't need to even actually write the whole formula. It auto-completes by itself. So this is a very simple formula that is our business requirement. One thing, aggregation function, the important one. Okay. So when if I would have set a granularity here, then I would have to give a aggregation function. So by aggregation function, we means, for example, when a granularity is set, the multiple calculation results of the calculation need to be aggregated into a single row of the displayed dimension. Therefore, when setting a granularity, you must define how the system should perform the aggregation. For example, we have here average, count, first, as the aggregation functions really are. But if we don't put any granularity here, we choose the aggregation function as auto. So by auto, we by default ask the system to not put any aggregation. Since there is no granularity, there's no aggregation function required. So this is why we put an auto here. Next, what we do is, after writing our formula, we do the code validation by clicking on this button. And if there are no errors thrown, it will show a tick mark. And then we don't have to do anything. We'll just click on save. Right. So we have our calculated measurement created here. So the best part is, after creating it, we can always edit it. We can make our changes if we want to put any granularity, or we want to change our aggregation function or total aggregation. We can change it always, and this will never affect any data in your existing workspace. The workspace will be automatically updated wherever this function or this calculated measurement is used. So summarizing it, the 5 factors that affect the calculated measurement are the expression that we are, the formula that we are actually using, the granularity, that is the dimension at which we want to actually visualize our calculated measurement, the aggregation function, if we want, we have our granularity selected, then how our aggregation should be there. It should be sum, it should be average, it should be min, max, or whatever. Then the total aggregation function, other than the granularity, or other than the default function, if we want the last row to display a different function altogether, then we select the total aggregation function, and finally the fields included in the display. So all of these things affect the basis of a calculation function, and we mention it here. This is the display field, this is the expression window, the aggregation function, in the advanced settings, the total aggregation and granularity. Right. So yeah, that's it for the demo part. Any questions here?
Team, if you have any questions, you can post it on chat. Yeah, Shatul, go ahead. Like, if you have anything more in the demo.
No, that was it about the demo. Yeah.
Anything in the presentation?
No, that was
Okay.
it from my end. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Okay, then you can stop share.
Sure,
I'll
yeah.
pass it to Anurag.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if there's any questions on Dataroma, guys, you can post it on the chat, and Shatul will be available to answer that on the chat.
Yeah.
window.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So Shatul, we have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So Shatul, we have a question. Any study sources for Dataroma?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
just provide it in the chat section. We have our partner learning courses, and then that is the best thing that I've been preparing for my own accreditation. I have done my Dataroma implementation certification, and I think partner learning course. I'll just put up the links in the chat section, and then you guys can review it. And feel free to reach out if there's anything else.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I'll pass it to Anurag now. Anurag, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, you can go ahead and share for the Pardot. Yeah, right. Thanks.
Just confirm, Shibu, if you are able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Shibu. Well, first and first, just you guys should know about myself. My name is Anurag. I am marketing automation lead at Horizontal Digital. I am a Salesforce marketing champion class of 21. I'm leading the Salesforce marketer Ajmer Group India. I'm 4-time Salesforce certified, includes the Pardot and SFMC. And I'm the founder of the Pardot Champ Learning Community, where I'm helping folks to learn on the Pardot side. You can visit to the website www.pardotchamps.com. You can reach out to me on my social media channels on Twitter and on my LinkedIn. I'm happy to help you in the Pardot side and the same in the marketing cloud if you guys have any questions. Okay, so next 20 minutes, we will be covering up these agenda. For the session for today is we have a release, not release, I mean, it's basically a new feature is being added. It's into the beta version right now. Pardot introduced Slack integration, where we will be covering up in the next 20 minutes, and we will be covering with the overview of Slack and the Pardot. What are the marketing capabilities? Why this integration being needed? Configuration setup and a small demo. Okay, so as you guys are aware about the acquisitions what Salesforce is currently doing, with the various competitors and the companies, Salesforce acquired not Pardot, it's basically a Slack. In July 2021. It's a very big acquisition when Salesforce acquired this company. So Slack is basically a collaboration tool. It's the same like a Teams. Where we are communicating internally related to our projects and communicate external also. So Salesforce acquired Slack on July 2021 by having a digital a workspace where you can just communicate and transform your business smoothly. Now, prior to acquisition, right, Slack, we can integrate the Pardot with this Slack, but with the help of third-party media tools, which is called as a middleware tool, where you are connecting your Pardot and Slack with the third-party medium tools. A few of them are Zapier, Try.io, Automated.io. These three tools are basically costing extra for the client, and most of the clients and most of the business are having some issues related to the data integrity, right? So now, when Salesforce acquired Pardot, it's free of cost. The only thing is that you need to purchase the Slack. If you're doing the Slack integrations, it's a free of cost tool for you. Now, what are the marketing capabilities? Slack has been introduced with the B2B and the B2C. It introduced with the SFMC and the same with the Pardot. These two platforms comes up with the different capabilities as per their architecture model. So Slack capability with SFMC is, you can create a journey. You can notify, users within the journey. You can create the approval rules, custom workflow approval rules, and the instant communication within the Slack. Shibu already, gave a session on this with the Slack capability, so you can just go through with the SFMC capability with the Slack. Now with the Pardot is basically, as Pardot is a source of medium between the sales team and the marketing team, and some of them of the customer success team. So it's communicate, it's pass on your prospect information, within the Slack, and it's basically a single shared view, and then you can notify to a specific owner or a sales rep, or might be a business team about prospect activities. So this is something where a prospect is being come to a landing page, it filled out your forms, and you'll be getting a notification on the Slack channel. There are some of the things which need to be considered. We will be covering up in the next slide. Now, why this integration is being needed, as this is a beta release. So this release came up in winter 22. It's into a beta right now, but partners who have access to the Pardot, who are running their Pardot.org, they are already getting this feature enabled in their Pardot.org. So this feature is basically into a beta. Pardot is coming up, and Salesforce has been coming up with a release in spring 22. So this Slack integration with the Pardot come up with the completion action, as completion action triggered the activities, trigger the functionality to be get synced in your Salesforce and to be get notified in the Slack channel. Now, the Slack is being introduced in the Pardot side with having these 4 features right now. You can use with the list emails. You can go with the file access. If somebody is being accessing a file, you can easily get notification. If somebody is being opened the email, click the email, you get notification on the Slack channel. If somebody filled out any of the forms to the landing page or through any of the forms or the forms and the form standards, you can just notify them. And the same with the custom redirect. So custom redirects is something if somebody is being clicking on any of the bit.ly short URL, or like any of the URL which is redirecting to any of a page, might be of the social media page, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, or any of your web landing page, right? So you can easily click, sales rep or a person get easily notified on the Slack channel. You need to set up a Slack channel in the Salesforce, and the same in the Pardot and the Slack community. Now, there are some consideration need to be get, checkpoints before you are connecting your Slack and the Pardot. First of all is you need to closely work with your IT admin team, to authenticate the Slack workspace and the channel, because most of the Slack, tool is being handled by the IT team. So you need to closely work with your IT team. You need to, send them some of a script which is being provided by the Pardot in their documentation, and they will be added at the backend. This Slack connector is not available in the Pardot Classic, as Pardot Classic is going to retire in this year in October 2022. After October 2022, there is no Pardot Classic. So a Slack connector is only available in the PLA, which is called as a Pardot Lightning app. You need to set up this Slack connector in your Lightning app, and then you need to, you can use the Slack connector in the Pardot. As this is a beta version, the only variant is available right now is into the English, as Pardot.org is comprised with different languages like English, Japanese, French, Brazil. So these are a few of the languages where Pardot is being comprised. But right now, this Slack and the Pardot integration come up with only a one language, one variant, which is English. As of now, you can create only a one workspace and up to 10 channels, right? So, you are running a company, you can name as a company name as a workspace, and a Slack channels. Right now, we have a limitation for the 10. You can create up to 10 Slack channels, and then you can use those 10 Slack channels in your communication with the Pardot and the Slack. Now, moving out to a demo. Okay, so this is my Lightning app, right? So you can see, once you install your Pardot package in your Lightning, in your Salesforce, you will be seeing a Pardot settings, and in the settings you can see other connector called as a Slack. Now, before going this Slack, you need to just add a Slack connector So you need to go to this account settings. You need to edit this. And you can see Pardot-Slack connected to a beta version right now. Okay. So right now it is basically, I already installed Slack with my Pardot. So you can see a checkbox true. Into a beta right now, you will be seeing most of the changes, upcoming changes by the Salesforce and the Pardot and with the Slack. So the moment you add a checkbox over here, you will be seeing a Pardot-Slack connector. And once you've seen the Pardot-Slack connector, you're seeing the three things over here. One is the workspace, channels, and the usage. So workspace is basically I use as my community learning platform name is Pardot Champs. Like as I said, we can only use a one workspace. You can see one is already being used. Now go to the channel tab. You can see we can use up maximum up to 10 channels. I have already consumed one, so remaining 9 channels are left. So these Slack channels I have created in my Slack community. So you need to go over here. This is my Slack channel. You can go with the over here. Okay. So for over here, you need to you need to set up everything over here. When you go to this configure apps. You can change the name of the Slack channel if you want to change. I use as a part of Slack integration, so you can use the same. Click on this. You want to remove this, you can remove this. And there is a documentation which is already being provided by by the Salesforce and Pardot. I will send this in the chat after this session. I mean, once I complete this demo. So this is the thing where you can just add this channel. And the third tab is called the users tab. So as a Pardot admin or a Salesforce admin, if they want to check that how many forms is associated with different channels, or maybe what channels, right? Or what is the basically a triggering point. So I've added in my contact us form. This contact us form is my live and my Pardot Champ website. And it is basically being created in my Pardot. So this is my contact us form. Status is active. And the trigger is form submission. That means if somebody submit this contact us form, it should get notified to my channel as a Slack channel, right? And the workspace is my Pardot channel. So now quickly go to our page and Pardot and go to the forms and like test it out, this thing. So I'm just clicking on this contact us form and I'm just filling out this form. Okay, so this is my form. I'm just adding anything. Now I'm just clicking on the submit and I'm going to, okay. Okay, let me correct it now.
Click on that checkbox at the bottom.
Okay, sorry. All right, so this message is being popped up. When you go to my Slack over here, and when you go to the Slack channel, you will be seeing a pop over here. Yeah, you can say ask me anything. Just submitted a contact us form. Ask me anything, just filled out a form, and all these details are there. Job title and the company is not being added in my form. So, right now it's showing as a blank, but the email address and my phone number is being captured over here. Now, as I said, this is a Pardot-Slack channel integration app. You can change this naming convention once you set up your Pardot, once you set up your Slack, Slack integration. You can change as per your needs, and you'll be seeing it to the Slack notify. Now, what I have done to configure this is when you edit this form, and when you go to this completion action, because completion action is being needed to trigger from Pardot to the sales, from Pardot to the Slack. So you can see a notify user. There is a notify Slack channel also where, when you click on this notify Slack channel, it will be asking which Slack channel. So right now we have only one Slack channel is being added as a Slack channel. You can add it a custom message. Same, you can add any of the emojis which is being used in the Slack. And then you can also use a merge field, which is being as a personalization message, right? So you can just type a personal message. Hey, Matthew, we have received a one prospect, prospect in your market, and then possibly you can use in the custom message. The same for the emailing part. This is a completion action is being for the forms. The same when you go to this, any of the emails, this is my email. Sorry. And you can send any new emails. Let one thing. Test, not test. EME Jan 2022, and you can choose anything. Pardot Chan. Campaign, you can select anything. Pardot Chan's beta. Save. I'm using as a default email template. I'm clicking on this sending. Now you'll be seeing some actions over here. So if somebody is being open the email, you can click on open the email, and you can see there's an option over there, notify Slack channel. So whenever you are sending any of the emails, list emails to your prospects, to any of your list, and if somebody open the email, you can just type a message, custom message over here, and same for the personalized message also over here. The same if you want that if somebody, if someone want, like if somebody unsubscribe any of the email, a sales rep get notified so that that they cannot send any of the email outside from their Pardot, because in Pardot, once a prospect has been unsubscribed, it should be marked as do not email. We are making sure that we are not going to send those prospects and email moving forward. The same for the click through these emails. If somebody click on this email, you can see a notify Slack channel, and then you can just type a message and just add it to a Slack channels. So as this is my partner account, and we have a limitation that we cannot send out an emails, so I can't showcase you, but for the forms part, I have done a showcase. This is a Slack and the Pardot beta PDF. Let me send this in a chat so that you guys can use this as a document. And yeah, that's it. That's a small demo of the Pardot. If you guys have any question, I'm happy to take.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chandra. That was very insightful. Team, if you have any questions, please do post that on chat. Let me go ahead and continue with our presentation. Okay. I hope you can all see the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So team, the final one that we had for our before the Kahoot quiz, like I promised, we are actually starting off this initiative. Something exciting. I'm pretty sure most of you have a little bit of like competitive spirit. So we wanted to kick off this year with this marketing design challenge. Okay, and we want to do it for both for SFMC and Pardot. So we'll kind of try to alternate at least once in a while to in as part of our AMA sessions. We will try to keep one or the other. So the first one that we want to kick off is an SFMC scenario. So we've actually created that and we have it ready. And the registration link is available here. So primarily it's a QIP document that we have created. So let me just post the link here. And I'll show you the QIP document. Second here. So once you come in, you will be able to see the registration date and the Google form where you can register, but there are certain rules that you need to follow. And then you have to submit your submissions. All the details are mentioned over here. Okay. So please, if you're attempting this, we would say do it honestly. It's also for your learning as well. And we are not asking that you have to have an SFMC org to do this. Even if you have a little bit of experience learning it, or you have done it in the past, but right now you don't have an org, you can still submit the solution from a design perspective. Okay. So we will email the scenario to you once you register, and we know that that it's a valid profile that you have submitted. We will send you the design challenge scenario, and then you can take a look at it, and then you can provide your submissions before February 28th. Okay, and then we will select a list of finalists, and then we will reach out to them through their email. We would want to.
So Shivu, we are getting chat messages where people are saying that we're getting added during submission. So I'm presuming we'll fix it if that is the problem.
Yeah. So you should be able to see the QIP link. Just can one of you confirm if you are able to see this QIP page?
Shivu, the QIP link of this SFMDC Jan 22 works very well, and we need to and the registration links also looks good, guys. You just have to switch your account and provide your details. That's it.
So the registration link is a Google form. You have to have a Google or a Gmail ID. Okay. So that is why it's a validation thing. You cannot simply go ahead and do spam there. So it has to be a valid sign in. And then you have to give your Trailblazer ID and a bunch of details as your submission, right? So we want to make sure we don't get simply people spamming in with solutions and all that. So we will review each person who's registering it, and if we feel that's a valid entry, we will be emailing out these scenarios to you. So the earlier you do it, the better. You will have more time to provide your solutions. Okay. The registration date, we will close it by February 13th. I've mentioned that in the QIP document. And the last date for the solution is February 28th as well. All the details of how to submit everything has been can only be viewed by the organization. Adesh, I'll take a look at the Google form. And see if there is any problem. I will address a link in the QIP document. Okay, so just give us a little. Maybe after this meeting, I will take a look at that particular Google form link. But at least the QIP document, I'm hoping everybody can access it. Okay, we will update the QIP link, the Google Forms link on that one. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so like I was saying, we will select a set of finalists for this, and then we will have a presentation round, because we want to just by looking at a document doesn't tell okay, what is your thought process and things like that. So we would want to hear from you your design strategy and how you approach the solution. And based on that, we will select a set of 3 winners, the final winners. Okay? So that is, and we will announce the prizes and the winners in hopefully in March, once maybe March or early April, depending on how soon we can get all the evaluations done. Okay. So that's all we had on that part, and then we can move into our Kahoot quiz. But meanwhile, if you have any other questions, please go ahead and put that in chat while we try to share the Kahoot quiz part. Just give me 1 second while I share the Kahoot.
Shibu, so only CGLs are able to access that form. If I am trying to log in from a personal thing, it gives the same error as Matt's.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I probably there is a link issue. I'll resolve that after this. Okay, yeah, thanks. Okay, I will stop recording because we are getting into Kahoot. So give me a second.
Thank you all for joining in today. Amazing AMA session.